versus Volkov. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, who cares? Please don't be that way. It's very rude. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what difference does it make? Please don't do that. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, both of these guys suck, but if you match them up just right, they can actually do a little something that is pleasing to watch on television. Please don't do that. That is such a rude thing to do. I wish you would stop. There's a story going in this fight. It turns out this is a rematch. Now, I gotta tell you, the fact that I don't know that really pisses me off. There is no question. I don't think you would question Uncle Chael and where I live as a fan within the sport, would you? Before you ever got to the professional in the sport that I am, and I truly am, but you would understand I'm a fan. You understand one of the things that makes my job pleasing, maybe even easy, is how much I enjoy it. I am a fan. It turns out that these two interchangeable mediocrities that aren't very good at anything and don't have a black belt in anything have already fought once. Why on earth are we having to see them fight again? What difference does it make? What difference did it make the first time? Please don't be like that. Don't do that. Now, heavyweight is so shockingly thin, but you can't call heavyweight easy. It is thin. It wouldn't matter from the day Dan Severn came in and showed us the effectiveness of wrestling or until he handed that baton to the great Mark Coleman, who handed that baton to the great Randy Couture, that had the great Kevin Randleman somewhere in between, that passed that baton all the way up to Daniel Cormier. It wouldn't make one single bit of difference that the heavyweight division does not have a single wrestler. And I'm not talking about an Olympian. I'm not talking about a medalist. I'm not talking about a national champion. I'm not even talking about an NCAA All-American. I'm talking about a person that even entered the NCAA tournament. Not one under contract. There has never been a time like this in UFC history. We don't even have an NCAA participant under contract. We did 3 weeks ago. It was Stipe. Stipe retired. Now, the most decorated wrestler that we have is a junior college national champion named Jon Jones. But wouldn't you know, he's also the world champion. Gee, I guess that whole wrestling at heavyweight thing really isn't gone yet, is it? From day one in the heavyweight class, the best wrestler was the UFC champion. It has never not been that way. It is right now. The best and most decorated wrestler is Jon Jones, who also happens to be the champion. Now, I'm just sharing that with you because we got these two guys that are, I guess they're kickboxers. And I don't want to be a dick about that. I just don't know what that means. Like, I have played along to this whole game of kickboxing about as far as I can go. If there's not a junior high in the world that has so much as a recreational program for your sport, you're not a real sport. If there's not a high school in all of the lands that has a team in your said sport, you're not a real sport. If there is not a college, as a matter of fact, even the military, which accepts every kind of a sport, doesn't have your sport, you're not a real sport. If the Olympic Games has never even considered recognizing your sport as sport, you're not a real sport. I don't make the rules. This is what it is. The X Games themselves don't have anything to do with you. Like, you can't walk through life and tell me you're a kickboxer. You just can't. Because what you just told me is, you don't do a real sport. You're not a real athlete. You're not associated with an actual team. In all the time that you have been walking this earth, have you ever met a guy that said, I'm a kickboxing coach? No, you haven't. If you did meet that guy, did you ask him, how? How did you become a coach? Like, what was that certification process like? No, of course you didn't do that because there would be no answer. You would be a jerk for asking it. It's like asking somebody if they're a badminton coach or if they're a fencing instructor. You will go your entire life and you will never meet a fencer or a fencing instructor. And I have a hard time playing along on this kickboxing journey. I'm trying. I want to. But we got two kickboxers in a sport that since 1993 has done nothing but prove kickboxing doesn't work within this sport. There's been some exceptions, but those exceptions were phenomenal athletes. Israel Adesanya could have made it in the NBA. He is an incredible athlete. Have you ever seen him dance? Truly. You want to know how good of an athlete? He can do anything. His body moves in an incredible way. Holly Holm, exception. Maurice Smith, exception. But guys, we're going on 31 years. I don't even need one hand. So now we got two guys from a fake sport that are going to go in and do a different sport. Two guys that are supposedly really good at kickboxing, whatever in the hell that even means. And we're not going to have them kickbox. We're going to have them do MMA. And you're complaining about it. You're complaining they got camera time. You're complaining it's a rematch. What difference does it make? That's so rude of you. That's so rude of you. I wish you wouldn't speak like that. And one of the reasons this fact matters so much is to offer something into the heavyweight division. There's a fight the people want at heavyweight. That's never great. That's not great for anybody. There is one fight. Jon Jones versus Tom. Now, you could find a second fight, but you'd have to make a 205-pounder, Alex Pierre, a heavyweight. And then you could do it any way you wanted. Like, I think that Alex versus Aspinall, I think that is just as big of a fight. Like, I feel like if tickets went on sale today, it's Jones versus Aspinall. I feel like that would be a really hot thing. I feel like if out of nowhere you found it was going to be Aspinall versus Pereira, I feel like they would break into SportsCenter and that would be really big. Maybe I don't have my thumb on top of it. But either way, I have successfully proved my point. There's not another fight, and that's not good. Now, Ciryl and Tom have business. For sure. Volkov has done a very good job. Volkov has really figured this thing out. The first time I ever heard about a backup fighter, I had never even heard the term. The first time I had ever heard about it was after weigh-ins were completed and I was covering the weigh-in show and Volkov came through the curtain and weighed in at 9 in the morning. I'm working with Errol Hawani. What the hell is going on? I don't remember seeing Volkov on the docket. Errol's flipping through his notes. I don't know what's going on either. We're sending text messages. We're getting hold of Mark Radner. We're trying to figure out what's going on here. Well, a little thing called a backup fighter. And generally speaking, if you go do that job as a backup fighter, your next fight will be for the actual championship. But they didn't do that with Volkov. And Volkov still overcame. And he had some real heavy lifting to do. And some of them went his way and some of them didn't. But that son of a bitch always got back up. I do really respect Volkov's journey. But we got Volkov versus Ciryl in a rematch. Now, nothing happened to either of them after their first match. It was inconsequential. This match, seemingly, is just as inconsequential, but it's not. We've got to get a victory, see who that is, and then use that to manufacture whether we're going to go in the direction of Jon defending his championship or Tom defending his championship. So for all of you that are saying, this fight doesn't matter, I don't care, I thought Ciryl quit and went and made movies anyway, and they're never going to put Ciryl against Jon Jones in a million years, will they ever redo that match? Yeah, you might be right, but it's very rude. I wish that you'd quit saying it.